This is the sound of common sense defending freedom. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
All right, some major revelations about the IRS targeting scandal. And this is, you have zero credibility if you are defending this. If unless you are actively pursuing that something is very, very wrong here, and there's likely collusion, not just between different people within the IRS, but different departments in the federal government, and it does touch the White House, involving some White House staffers, and until we hear differently, it is still possible that it goes all the way to the president. Unless you are actively working that idea, trying to prove it or disprove it, I'm sorry, you have lost all credibility. You are simply in the tank for a person, yourself, your jobs, or your political party. There is no way at this point that you cannot at least say, wait a minute, there are many things very, very wrong here. I mean, this is a Watergate moment. Who's going to keep digging? What's going to be the smoking gun? It's coming. That's the other thing. You're also an idiot. If you are a Democrat politician out there that is simply trying to protect your party, you're also a moron. Selfishly, you're not even smart enough to realize what's coming. This is a tidal wave that is going to come crashing down upon you. You're not even smart enough to say, you better get out of the way here. I better not defend. I better just distance myself and say that there might be something here.
I think ultimately, too, this is going to end up being a bigger type scandal than Watergate. I mean, because when you take a look at, Nixon, spying on his own political operatives right there, a similar thing in terms of this, but it was on a much, much broader scale.
Oh, you mean the IRS scandal?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, without question, much broader and much more obvious and much more targeted. Now, we also don't know what else this touches. Just the obvious of what happened. That's been admitted that these groups were targeted. Now, they say it wasn't for political purposes. It was just, because we had questions, ... That by itself, what they've already admitted without political targeting, is huge. We will, of course, prove eventually political targeting, and we'll see exactly where this went, and that likely it went all the way. Now, they'll do everything they can to protect the president, but it went fairly high up. There's going to be some people falling on swords over there, maybe even people who left the administration already. But it's going to happen. The truth is going to come out. They cannot hide this now, not with the recent revelations. But what else is attached to it? What else? Remember, a lot of these scandals, and there are a lot of them out of this White House, potentially touch other ones or involved other ones or were a combination. What if the IRS scandal goes beyond just using the IRS for political targeting? What if it involves other government agencies? We know the NSA spies on people. Would that be so difficult? Right? Who else did they investigate that we don't know about? Aside from the 501c 3s and 4s, right? What if it goes beyond just investigating them? What if they actually started pulling and investigating, scrutinizing certain people? What if you find out that these employees just said, you know what, let's go look at Rush Limbaugh. You know what, let's go look at the Koch brothers. Let's scrutinize them a little more. You know what, let's look and fill in the blank. What if they did that? We already know it involved the FEC. They've admitted that, which is a violation of the law, and yet nobody has gone to jail. So let's go through this. The new information is this. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman David Camp first sent a letter to the IRS asking if it was engaged in this targeting on June 3rd, 2011. Take it back a little bit before that. Some of these 501c 3s and 4s that are conservative in nature first filed in 2008. Most of them filed in 2009, or the beginnings of those that were targeted filed in 2009 then. As we learned through our documentary, Intolerable, which if you haven't seen, please go to intolerable.us and check out the documentary on the Tea Parties. You'll understand this was not in response to President Obama, much as the media would like to pretend it is or was. It was in response to George W. Bush's administration. It just got really ramped up during Obama because it came even faster. It was in response to all of the bad that George W. Bush had done, culminating with TARP during the election of 2008. So some of these groups started popping up and saying, okay, this is wrong, this is crazy, we've got to do something different in 2008. So the election happens late 2008. Just before the election, TARP, and the world starts going crazy, right? We had that whole financial meltdown. 2009, Obama is inaugurated, and then you have stimulus and Obamacare and another stimulus and, NSA and all of this other stuff comes crashing down on us. More groups file in 2009. And people like Justin Binnick Thomas were saying, hey, wait a minute. This stuff is crazy, right? They're asking questions about me. Because as they filed in 2009 and were looking for this status, the IRS wasn't going, ho, what's this? A person filed 501c3 and they're conservative? No. It was when a lot of them happened, and because of politics. So a lot of these throughout 2009 popped up. They were really full force by 2010. That was the midterm elections then, right? So you have 2008, the presidential election, the fall of 2010, the midterms. And if you remember what happened in the midterm elections 2010, it was an overwhelming support of Tea Party candidates and Republicans. I mean, the House even picked up seats. It was huge. That's when they really got serious, when they saw what was happening, that these groups were having an impact. So by mid 2010 on into 2011, these groups are saying, how come I don't have my tax-exempt status? What's going on? Wait a minute. Why are you asking about my prayers? Why are you asking who I hang out with? Why are you asking question 26 about Justin Binnick Thomas, a random person? Why all of this? So, June 3rd, 2011, David Camp from Michigan, the congressman, sends a letter to the IRS saying, hey, what up with this? Lois Lerner denies it. June 3rd, 2011. He sends a letter. Lois Lerner denies that there is targeting. Flat out denies it. We find out her computer crashed. Remember her computer crashed that lost all those emails? You know when it crashed?
What was that?
June 13th, 2011. 10 days after he sent the letter.
Well, that seems kind of suspect.
Yeah, this is pretty damn obvious what happened here. Let me explain what likely happened. They start this targeting, and it is for political purposes, because I've got some other timeline stuff to give you in just a minute. But they start this targeting thinking they're going to get away with this crap. Not caring, figuring they're protected. It's the president, they're the IRS, they can do whatever they want. He sends the letter. And remember, David Camp wasn't the only one sending the letters then and asking the IRS. We had a couple congressmen in Ohio, we know. Virginia, they did. A bunch of congressmen started saying, what's up? I'm hearing from my constituents that are part of these Tea Party groups that you are targeting them, that you're dragging your feet, that there's all these inappropriate questions being asked. So it wasn't just Camp. It's just he was one of the first and chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, which is a lot of power in Congress. So he says, what's going on? She realizes at that point, after flat out denying it, that there's a paper trail and that this isn't going away, because if the House Ways and Means chairman is sending you a letter on this, and even if only for political purposes, other congressmen are as well.
Things are getting real. Yeah.
Right, they're going to...
They're definitely going to look into, or at least keep digging. Once they start getting a string on something like this, and I mean, as that information comes out, I mean, you start pulling that string, they're definitely going to keep pulling.
It's not going away. Lois Lerner and the IRS, I believe, had to come up with a way out of this. And knowing that there was a paper trail, they had to get rid of the ones that would prove what? Not that she wasn't doing it, because there's already letters out there, Skip. There was email, correspondence, letters, phone calls.
There's already proof that it was going on.
Right. I mean, they can prove just the fact that it was delayed. How come these were delayed and the ones for liberal groups were not, or progressive groups weren't? I mean, that by itself, you can't hide. You just can't hide it. Number two, they had correspondence. They had sent these Tea Party groups lists like, send us a list of your prayers and your donors and all of this stuff. They can't hide that. These people already had the email. These Tea Party groups had those email. So she had 10 days. In that 10 days, she came up with, or they came up with a plan to get them out of the worst part of it. The worst part is that it was connected to the White House and that they were doing it for political purposes. I believe this firmly. What was the way out? Get rid of the paper trail in her office that showed that it was specifically targeted for political purposes. And what did they do? Oh, my computer crashed. She denied it to David Camp right there. They denied it for a couple of years. Right? Actually, I think it was like a little over a year. They denied it. Then she comes up in 2013 and says, oh, remember the planted question? Lois Lerner and people specifically planted a question about this in a little speech that she was given in front of some attorneys, one of the bar associations. They planted this question.
There was a Washington Times reporter or Post reporter.
One of them, yeah. Anyways, they specifically asked this question that she told them to ask. Why? We know this was part of their let's get the story out there and just float it out there. Have somebody asked about it out of nowhere. She planted it, means they got all of their ducks in a row. They prepared everything and said, okay, now let's pull the string and let's deal with this. They did it after the election. So Barack Obama got reelected because if people had known about this stuff before 2012, the election in 2012, he likely would not have gotten elected. Remember, this is June of 2011. You are now into presidential reelection season. It's only under a year and a half away. They had to get this beyond the election. When was he elected? Fall of 2012. You get re-inaugurated in January 2013. She floated this out in the spring of 13. So it's after the election, number one, and number two, after they had done everything they could do for damage control. Her computer crashed 10 days after they started inquiring about this, and it's so long ago. Oh, it's hard to recover him. It's been years now. It crashed back in 2011. 10 days after he sent the letter. Really? Come on.
It's too much of a coincidence at that point.
10 days.
I mean, with all the other information we have, too, I mean, if any one of these things happen along the way, okay, fine, mistakes happen or technology glitches. But when you take a look at all this stuff and put it all together, take a look at this from a macro point of view, it's so clear.
It's 10 days, folks. It's not even 2 weeks. Think about this. He sends the letter. Her computer didn't crash the day before he sent the letter. 10 days before he sent the letter. It was days after he sent it, showing reaction. If it had crashed before, there's no story here. After, it certainly is questionable. Now, you also have to remember what Skip and I have told you in the past that most people do not tell you. They don't remember that the NTEU, National Tax Worker, whatever, union, it's the union that represents a lot of the tax workers at the IRS, shows that their president, Colleen Kelly, met with Obama March 31st, 2010. That is the day before the targeting takes place. The targeting started that they can track April 1st, 2010. She met with him the day before. Neither one of these would stop any of the questions about this. If she had met with him 2 days after, not a big deal, but the day before. If the computer had crashed 10 days before the letter, not a big deal. But it always happens to work to show cause and effect in this thing.
I would love to see some of her communications of other emails or who she met with, who she talked to in the days following this email from Camp, too. It says, how do I get out of this? I mean, she had to put together a game plan. She called in her buddies or the president or whomever to help her get out of this situation or to minimize the damage to the administration. I would love to see those records.
It's eventually coming, folks. I don't think that they can hide this forever. Even with their time, I just think there's too much redundancy. Somehow something's coming out or somebody's going to blow the whistle. The IRS said that it had internal backup tapes, but they're recycled every 6 months. So her hard drive was recycled, and even those tapes, the backup tapes.
What's the point of a backup if you recycle it every 6 months?
Think about it again with that statement, every 6 months. June 3rd, 2011. As soon as you get into, January, February, those tapes start getting recycled. So she's out of it by 2012. Oh, and then her computer crashed. Now, Jay Carney said the same thing as the IRS about these being recycled. Then he added something else. He said none of Lerner's recoverable emails included direct exchanges with the executive office of the president. None of her recoverable emails had any direct exchange with the executive branch. It's
none of her recoverable emails?
Right.
The ones we couldn't recover.
Well, I'm sure those didn't either because none of the recoverable ones did. Right? So it's unlikely that those would if the recoverable ones didn't.
See, we shift deleted those, so those ones were permanently deleted.
He also said that the IRS is turning over 24,000 of her emails. So, see, everything's going to be fine because it recovered 24,000 of them, so that's fine.
And we went through them, and these don't implicate us at all, so you can have them.
Now, those ones were recovered through the files of other email users. According to Jay Carney, he said that, they got those because, for example, her computer crashed, but maybe they got it off of Skip's or Pete's or John's or whatever.
I got a copy of the email because I was on that one.
Right. Well, then my question is, who did those other emails that weren't recoverable come to or fro? Who were they sent to or who did they come from? Why can't you recover her emails from them then? If you're getting 24,000 of her emails, according to Jay Carney, to make it sound like a big number, like I got 24,000 of them, there's only 3 that are missing. Now, of course, those 3 are from the president telling her to do this, but it's only 3, Skip. See, Jay Carney is playing the game of, they got 24,000 of them. It may only be 1 that is the email that says, wow, this is really, really bad. Oh, my golly, we're really late here. I got so much more to tell you about the IRS. Let me get a quick break in, and we'll do it. It's coming up on the Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson will be right back on the Blaze Radio Network. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
All right, we're talking about the IRS scandal. Major new revelations this morning. Number 1 is that Lois Lerner's computer, when that crashed, wink, wink. Remember when it crashed, Skip? Wink, wink. Remember when they say it crashed, Skip? Well, that was 10 days after the David Camp of Michigan, the congressman, sent a letter asking about it, which they denied. So we got that. Now we've got some new information on what type of backup system they used.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard lots of people say, well, how come you didn't back this up? And they said, well, they rewrite over the tapes. And we keep talking about this redundancy, that there's always, even in small companies, even at home, there's likely redundancy on your computers backing it up if you use certain systems or certain software. Well, it turns out the IRS did have a software company who they paid to back up its emails. And we have proof of that. Plus, as it turns out, there was some strange coincidence when it comes to their contract as well. I'm going to give you details about that coming up, as well as some of your calls on the Broad Voice studio line next on this, The Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
The Blaze Radio Network. Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Okay, the Broad Voice studio line open now, 888-900-3393. Want to get your take on what's going on with the IRS scandal. Do you think this is actually going to be fully exposed? This is going to seriously bring people down, or do you think they'll be able to sidestep all of it? I don't think with the recent developments that they're going to be able to completely sweep this under the rug. I'm sorry. I think there's too much out there. I think somebody is likely going to step up and blow the whistle, and it might be somebody at the company Sonasoft. It might be somebody at the software and archiving company Sonasoft. You see, they had a contract with the IRS. We keep saying, we know there's redundancy. We know that somebody's archiving this stuff. Where are the archives? No, they're on the tapes. They were erased. Really, only keep them for 6 months? Why wouldn't you keep them for 5 years, 10 years? I mean, why do you keep email anyways at government? Because there has to be oversight.
Well, this is coming, too, from an organization within the government that tells you to keep your records for 7 years.
Great point. That's a wonderful point.
And they keep
Skip.
theirs for 6 months?
There has to be oversight. I don't care who's in charge, what political party, none of that. It has to be oversight. In order for your government to operate properly, there has to be oversight. And oversight includes investigations, inspectors general going through it. And they have to be able to go back, I'm going to say reasonably 10 years. I'll give you 10 years because 10 years will encompass, it'll go beyond one administration. I would say probably, if you really want to be safe, it should be 15 years. But 10, the president's only elected 2 terms, serves 8. It's going to go into the next one. But I would say probably 15 years you should be able to go back and research this stuff. So we keep saying there's got to be something else. Well, it turns out the IRS had a contract with a company called Sonasoft. Now, how did people find out about this? Because Sonasoft tweeted about their agreement back in 2009. 12:40 in the afternoon. 12:40 on 9 October 2009, Sonasoft tweets out, if the IRS uses Sonasoft products to back up their servers, why wouldn't you choose them to protect your servers? And then a link to Sonasoft.
Oh.
Yeah, this is not doing real well for Sonasoft today. This isn't looking good. This makes them, wrongly or rightly, look really bad. I just hope Sonasoft is smart enough and will do the right thing to wash their hands and say,
Ho, ho, what's this? We found the backup.
there it is. Or to tell us what really happened with the IRS. Now, they might be worried about it, but I got to tell you, Sonasoft, it's looking real bad for you today.
Yeah, I mean, either way, you're going to probably face hardships and troubles, Sonasoft. So you might as well come out and do the right thing and try to repair your image in that way,
right.
instead of making it look like you guys are just absolutely inept.
Right, and it probably isn't their fault. We don't know the full extent of the contract they have. We don't know the full details. We know very little at this point. But doesn't it seem likely that the company could have saved all those lost emails if the IRS wanted them to? So even if Sonasoft said, hey, we did everything right, fine, wouldn't the IRS have told them to keep them if they wanted them to keep them? So Sonasoft may be in the clear on this thing. Hey, we did everything we're supposed to. The IRS didn't want them to keep us beyond 6 months. You'd say, why didn't the IRS want them to keep them? If the IRS really wanted those to be saved, they would have been saved somehow. I mean, if you have some really important email that cannot get lost, are you even going to rely on your backup servers? You're going to print the thing off. You're going to send it to 6 other ways. You're going to other data bases for it, a data stick, whatever. You're going to find external drives. You're going to save this stuff.
Well, and the matter of fact is, it's not that much data to begin with. I mean, the amount of data that is contained with email is text-based, some pictures perhaps. You could even strip all the images from things.
Right.
I mean, it's not a lot of data at all.
If the IRS wanted them saved through Sonasoft, they would have been saved through Sonasoft, which brings us to the next revelation about Sonasoft and the contract they had. They had a contract with the IRS since 2005. It looks like every year they would renew their contract and back up the IRS's emails. This was what it looks like, the contract they had. The IRS signed a contract with Sonasoft, an email archiving company based in San Jose, California, each year according to what Fox News is reporting, from 2005 to 2010. The IRS canceled its longtime relationship with Sonasoft. Any guesses?
2011.
Yeah, just 2 weeks after Lois Lerner's computer crashed.
Then in June.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
So add this now. IRS has not volunteered that Sonasoft, I mean, they may have told members of Congress, but this was not widely known that they had a contract with Sonasoft. That is the first time I have ever heard of Sonasoft.
By the way, that is the first time many people are ever hearing of Sonasoft. They are not a large, successful company.
Right, so why would you use a small company? There's a little red flag there. Why that company? Maybe they're great. Maybe Sonasoft does a great job. Fine. Never heard of Sonasoft. I've never heard of it through the last couple of years of testimony. Maybe it was put out there. I've not heard of it. I mean, when members of Congress are saying, hey, do you back this stuff up? I have yet to hear anybody at the IRS say, well, we have Sonasoft too, or we did use them for a while. Nothing. I've never heard of this. Maybe that's been mentioned. I have yet to hear about it. It's certainly not widely publicized. So here it is. June 3rd, 2011. Representative Camp from Michigan sends a letter to the IRS and asks, are you targeting conservative groups? Lois Lerner responds, no, we're not. 2 weeks later, her computer crashes. 2 weeks after that, Sonasoft's contract is ended. They cancel it. 2 weeks after that. Maybe they canceled it because her computer crashed and we weren't able to recover them.
The heck, you guys, you're not even doing your jobs. You know what? We're going to cancel the whole thing.
Really?
Of course not. It doesn't make any sense.
You cancel your contract. What? 2 weeks. 1 month after David Camp sent that letter, the contract with Sonasoft is canceled. And halfway between that time, Lois Lerner's computer actually crashed.
And it's not even as though they just didn't renew the contract with Sonasoft. They decided, you know what? We're going to go ahead and give them – we need to go ahead and save some money here at the IRS. We're going to go ahead and make a cut. Let's go ahead and cut this extra contract.
We realized after Lois Lerner's computer crash, we don't need to keep those emails.
And since we're streamlining and very efficient here at the IRS, let's cancel.
Yeah, this is very suspect. April 2011, this is the email period the time period that her emails went missing. Sonasoft's 6-year business relationship with the IRS came, according to reports, to an abrupt end in the close of fiscal 2011. That was about the time that a congressional investigation began looking into it. Sonasoft's fiscal year 2011 contract with the IRS ended August 31st. 8 days later, the IRS officially closed out its relationship with Sonasoft, according to the federal government's closeout guidelines. Let's see. August 2011, 1 year before the election. Is that incredible or what? The IRS deallocated 36 cents when it closed out its contract with Sonasoft on September 8th, 2011. I don't know why they would have to allocate that. Maybe that's what was left over. All right, we'll get some phone calls in the Broad Voice studio line, 888-900-3393. Let's go to Shellington, Michigan.
Good morning, Doc.
How are you?
I'm really confused.
What do you got there? What's going on?
Well, if the IRS only keeps their information for 6 months, how is it that I just was audited for the year 2011?
No, wait a minute. Was it before or after June 3rd? Because that's when the computers crashed.
I'm just confused because it's very confusing because how do they even have the records then?
So let me get this straight. The IRS makes sure that it keeps records when it's concerning your taxes and what you potentially owe. But when it comes to you as a constituent wanting oversight, then they don't keep those records. That's
I think you've got it there. That is kind of clearing it up for me.
Interesting. So, Shelley, tell me about your audit. What you can tell. What's they just contacted you and said, hey, what's this?
Yeah, they. What was funny is I had just come back from a protest, and got a letter in the mail, and it said I was being audited for 2011 because they thought there were some discrepancies. there was, well, they tried to tell me that there was two, one for $4,000 and one for $400. There was a $400 amount that I did forget to put on my taxes that I had to pay $700 in taxes and penalties on.
Wow, $400. So they, and wait, you had to pay $700 on it?
Mm-hmm. And
was that like penalties or something?
Yep, taxes, interest, and penalties.
That is incredible to me.
So they knew all of that.
Here's now. Have you paid that yet?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I wish I wouldn't have, though, because I would like to go back and say, where are your records?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I wish you'd call me earlier because what we would have said was just tell him your computer crashed. Just tell him I'd like to do it.
I actually did consider that, but, I kind of like my freedom.
I understand that. I understand.
I'd like to just call them back.
Not ready for me yet.
I'd love to just call them back and just say, prove it.
Shelley, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for calling
you.
this morning. I really wish we could get enough brave people next year to file and just go, yeah, I'm not filing. Sorry. No, my computer crashed. Sorry.
Oh, I'm going to file. I'm proud to report my 7 new home offices.
Yeah, my computer crashed. Sorry. Someone needs to stand up and do it and challenge them on this stuff. How is it you can save the information where you're going to get paid, but you can't back up and secure the information where we have oversight? That's the big issue here. It's not even the targeting of conservative groups for political purposes. That is outrageous. That is the beginning of the end for a country, for a free people. Sorry, it really is. It's the fact that we wouldn't have oversight regardless of who's there. That's the biggest issue here. We have to have oversight of our government. The whole reason we have 3 branches of government with a series of checks and balances is to make sure that no one person, one group, or one branch becomes too powerful and can oppress people. That's the whole point. So, yeah, they have gotten to the point where they can use this for political purposes. The bigger issue is that there isn't the oversight where we could stop it. The fail-safe, the thing that keeps this from happening again and punishes it when it has already happened is oversight. And to some degree keeps it from happening. That's how it's supposed to work in a free people, in a free society is, okay, there are people that are going to do bad things. Well, there's oversight and checks and balances. That's going to deter most of it. Okay, it didn't deter all of it. Well, we have proof to go back and punish you. There's oversight. There's investigators. There's a paper trail. There's all this information. You're eventually going to get busted. You're going to be punished severely. And this will also keep it from happening in the future because we will learn where the holes are. We'll realize where the loopholes are. Where's the oversight? A computer crash? You're going to allow your government to say a computer crashed. That's what you're going to allow them to say and just move on? I don't think so. This is the Morning Blaze.
This is
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
the Blaze Radio Network.
With Doc Thompson.
Now there's some good news. The IRS is preparing new guidelines. That's good news, Skip, to keep this from happening in the future.
Of course.
I mean, it's specifically new guidelines on how they're going to deal with 501c4s. So I imagine there's probably some really good things they're going to do. If you have suggestions for rules and what you think they're going to end up doing, I just tweeted out with the hashtag new IRS rules.
Is targeting conservatives completely off the table now?
I'm not so sure because they're still doing it. So
They've
I don't know.
Still
if
got a
that's
couple years left too.
Possibly. Hashtag new IRS rules. What do you think they're going to encompass under the new rules? Let's go to the Broad Voice studio lines now. Jennifer in North Carolina, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you.
So I just wanted to bring up the fact that I work for a 501c3. I work in the accounts payable division, and we're required to keep our records for 7 years.
Wow.
I am never allowed to get rid of a W-9, which is what the 1099 freelancers get.
Uh-huh.
We have certain things that we have to keep for 10 years, and some things we're never allowed to get rid of. So how come we're so stringent and they're not?
Right. I mean, again, it's that do as I say, not as I do, because we're the government.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really frustrating. I mean, some of the extra work that all of this causes, it really, I'd love to have the free tax systems because it wouldn't eliminate my job in any way, shape, or form, but boy, it sure would make it a whole lot easier.
See that?
Wouldn't you just love to see all these IRS people on the, unemployment line going, I used to take people's money and now I don't have any.
Yeah, I would Jennifer, you're absolutely right. Thanks for the call. I really appreciate it. All right, Broad Voice Studio Line. We'll get some more of your calls coming up. 888-900-3393. There's a couple of other people that want to comment on this. All right, what's going on with this IRS targeting? Where do you think this is going to go? Are we going to get to the bottom of it now? I think with this new information, we likely will. And don't forget, use the hashtag #WhatILearnedToday and also hashtag new IRS rules. New IRS rules.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Part of the next generation of talk radio.
This is the Blaze Radio Network.
This is the sound of common sense defending freedom. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
All right, we had some people that wanted to comment on the IRS scandal. I really want to get your take on it if you think this is going anywhere. And maybe some suggestions on what else we could do. I'm being honest. Some serious suggestions of what we could do. I mean, where can we get the information? I think likely Sonasoft is someplace you could get the information. Is there one moral person at the IRS that had access to this information? Is there? If there is, you need to blow the whistle. Is there one non-progressive, one person who isn't thinking of themselves and thinking of the good of the country that would expose these emails? Is there anybody with any moral convictions that had access to it, whether it's Sonasoft, whether it's the IRS, the NSA, whoever, one employee there who's on a paper trail, somebody that could get the information? Is there one moral person that would share that? What do you think? Broad Voice Studio Line open for you now, 888-900-3393. That's 888-900-3393. You can also get us via Twitter. It's at Doc Thompson Show and at Skip Lacombe. Of course, we're using the hashtag What I Learned Today, but also hashtag New IRS Rules, because they've come up with some new rules apparently they're going to roll out. To the phones we go. Let's go to Matt in Texas. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Doc, Skip, how are you guys today?
How are you, sir?
Great.
I'm doing pretty good up here trucking in upstate New York. Anyway, I was thinking, this is it appears that they're trying to withhold evidence, tamper with evidence. This could be like a RICO case, We need a special prosecutor to subpoena and get the personal home computer of Lois Lerner,
Yep. Now, I will tell you this. No, Matt, there were questions, and I am 90-some% sure, and I'm going through memory because they're going from memory. There's been a lot of twists and turns, that they did say that she had used her personal computer or her personal email address anyway for doing company work or IRS work.
I would call for the personal computer of Lois Lerner, all the managers that worked under her, and since they blamed the low-level employees in Cincinnati, I would call for all their office and personal home computers, as well as the president's.
Here's what you'd have to have. You'd have to have, and it wouldn't even be their personal computers. It would be their personal emails, First of all, you'd have to determine those accounts. Number two, you'd have to get those companies to turn them over. And likely, personal email accounts are going to be on one of the big ones, the biggest ones being Google, Yahoo, or one of the other ones that they own, because I think Google also has Rocket, or is that Yahoo?
Right. Now, them low-level employees, they must have received emails from somebody at their office computers, and perhaps they communicated between themselves via the office computers or their home personal computers, So, you can get those emails or unless they all burned up,
Right.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much for the call, Matt. I appreciate you checking in. 888-900-3393. Matt's right, though, about RICO, about organized crime. This looks like, it certainly looks like it's going on, but I think we've already proven parts of it. I think we are borderline have already proven that they've already admitted to a certain amount of collusion here. Well, think about this. They said low-level employees. The president repeatedly said it was just some low-level employees out of Cincinnati. Right off, they said that, and they continued that narrative. That's already been proven, and they're not even disputing it anymore, that it wasn't low-level employees in Cincinnati. It was also the home office in D.C. and also other offices nationwide that were involved in this. So right off, they say, no, low-level employees in Cincinnati, and it turns out it wasn't. Okay, they didn't know that? They really didn't know that there was anybody else involved. Even those emails exist and still exist to this day. Those ones didn't mysteriously vanish or crash, and they knew that. And the president continued that narrative that it was just low-level employees after this was proven. Doesn't that show cover-up? Doesn't that show collusion? Not just with those low-level employees at the IRS, but it shows the collusion all the way to the White House and the chief executive. It shows collusion with other employees as well. Doesn't this show that there's an organized attempt to cover up? And furthermore, what about the FEC? They've already admitted, and they have proof, that Lois Lerner engaged in activities with the Federal Elections Commission, asking them for information, and they were asking her for information, that they shared information between those agencies, which is illegal. That's not a question, folks. What they did there by sharing information between the Federal Elections Commission and the Internal Revenue Service was illegal. So, what more do you need to prove organized crime? Isn't that enough to subpoena, enough probable cause to subpoena all of that stuff that Matt just said? You have the president actively promoting a lie after it was proven, and he's the guy in charge. Then you have his employees doing the same thing. Jay Carney, the minister of propaganda, and others. You've got the heads of the IRS, the multiple commissioners that have come and gone that have lied about this stuff. Lois Lerner, who pleads the fifth then, even though you have emails with her going back and forth saying this is what they're doing. She's talking to the IRS attorney and the guy from the FEC. All of this proves what? That they were talking about it, and there was collusion between multiple people and multiple government agencies. What more do you need to subpoena and say it is time we go after all of their personal email accounts?
And if there's nothing else that they are unable to get Lois Lerner on, even at this point, the fact that she was exchanging those emails with the FEC is a huge smoking gun. Aside from the rest of the whole scandal to begin with, they're targeting a conservative groups. Those exchanges of information are illegal, and she should go down for that. No one's even talking about that, though. It's part of the bigger issue of the scandal to begin with. But if nothing else, she needs to go down for that.
I think it's pretty obvious, though, when you look at all of those things, when you added up what I just shared with you, which, by the way, that stuff is not in dispute. What I just shared with you is fact. That's already been proven. In fact, some of those very people have already testified to those things. We have emails proving the things I just said. That by itself, doesn't that show collusion between many people and many agencies, bosses, employees, and everything else? Where is that one moral, low-level employee in Cincinnati who stands up and says, this is wrong, and I've got the email trail? Where is that IT person at the IRS in D.C., or the IT person at the FEC, or in President Obama's administration that stands up and says, you know what, I ideologically agree with the president, I believe in bunch of liberal crap. Yes, I believe in those things, but this is wrong. Where are those people with moral convictions that will stand up and say, this is not right? Where are they? There's not one. There's not one. Let's go back to the phones. Broad Voice Studio Line 888-900-3393. Let's go to New Jersey and
Sandy.
Sandy, how are you?
Hi, Doc.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you about there's not one moral person standing up, but we'll see about that. But meanwhile, I was just thinking about something that I think is being overlooked, and that is, I know that the focus is on the correspondence between Lois Lerner during that period of time, but what about during the last year when the cover-up would be scrambling, communicating in some way to try and, develop a cover-up. So are they going to request the information that's in the correspondence that's going on currently and in the past year?
Okay, so you're saying, let's go through the time frame here a second, Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying her computer crashed in mid-June of 2011. And
Right.
since then, you're saying let's go after all those emails because it'll show possibly them working on the cover-up, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Especially during the last year. Yeah.
Right. Here's the thing with that. We laid out the timeline based on what we just got today, that June 3rd, 2011, you have Representative Camp send the letter saying, has there a targeting of conservative groups going on? And we know other congressmen did through the same time. 10 days later is when her computer crashed. Most of the damning stuff is going to be in those prior to him sending the letter and up until that 2011 crash. At that point, if they were involved in a cover-up, and that's the reason it so-called crashed and it's unrecoverable, she's going to know at that point that they can't talk about any more of this stuff because they can't do another mysterious crash. So, and they have recovered, they have gotten some of those emails. Some of them are questionable. But like I mentioned earlier, it shows this. They knew they could not get out completely from under what was going on because they had sent letters to people asking for inappropriate things. And number two, if you just look at the progressive groups were not targeted and conservative groups were, that's a smoking gun. So what they had to do was say, oh, they were confused. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't political, anything like that. I think what they did was covered up the political, the reason they were really doing it. And they had that 10 days when they all started going, okay, wait a minute, we got to cover this up. Okay, we'll do a computer crash. Moving forward, let's not mention any of that stuff.
Yeah, I understand. But let me ask you this. Do you think that in this cover-up that's going on, right, for the past year, do you think that there were no communications between anyone at the IRS and anyone in the administration?
That's a great question. Saying? No, I think there are. I just think it's not going to be in traditional correspondence.
Exactly.
So
and
it's going to be the personal
if you wanted to
ones.
hide that, what would you do? You would speak face to face. So what about the log of visitors? What are they checking that?
Yeah, they have. And here's the funny thing with the White House log of visitors. Number one, it's not always unbelievably, Sandy, and I don't care who the president is, Democrat, Republican, conservative, not. Unbelievably, the White House log is not as detailed as you may hope. Number two, we know from the early days of the Obama administration, they were not meeting at the White House many times because they didn't want it on record. Remember his big thing, well, we're not going to have any lobbyists work for us. We're not going to deal with lobbyists, all of that nonsense. Well, they just didn't meet him at the White House. There's a couple coffee shops nearby. They would just go over and meet him over there.
Yeah, so there's a way. You're right.
Exactly. So they wouldn't have on record anything as far as visitors go that they wouldn't be able to easily give an example or an explanation for. The other thing is, so they would meet probably other places, whatever. If they did want to engage in correspondence that wasn't face-to-face, they could easily just do them in private emails, which the administration has proven they, as well as different branches like the EPA, have specifically used personal email accounts. So I think likely Lois Lerner and others have personal email accounts they were using.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Sandy. Really appreciate you checking in.
Have a good day, Doc. Bye.
You too.
I just realized, too, the White House logs they have, the visitor logs, are kind of like the VA logs, too. There's two different logs, one that are public. There's two different, the public one we can go and talk about, and other ones that are kind of kept secret.
That's it. You're right. That's exactly what they do. How this, again, anybody with any sense on the left Anybody with, forget morals for a second, any sense for your own survival, what do you think is coming down the road? It's going to be your turn in the tank, and they are going to punish you. Do you want that? I don't, because it's not right. The reason we have a White House visitors log and the reason we are supposedly archiving emails is because there should be oversight. Save the nuclear launch codes or personal finance records for people at the that the IRS receives, your Social Security number and whatnot. All of that should be public. Why shouldn't I have access or specific personnel matters that would deal with the person's privacy? Aside from that, how come I don't have access today to the commissioner of the IRS's emails from yesterday, from last week? How come there's not a place that I can log on and see what he wrote that doesn't have to do with those things? Where he says, hey, there's going to be an all-staff meeting for this department as we discuss the new vending machine or whatever the hell it is.
Taco Tuesday, come by at noon.
How come that's not out there? And then official rules. Any official correspondence, again, that doesn't include somebody's email, Social Security number. I mean, you could even put, we're going after these people. We're doing so many more audits. All of that stuff. That should all be public. And if it's not, you are not a free people. They're going to do this to whoever they want. And it's only going to get worse. So the NSA can look at all of our emails. The IRS can't even properly archive theirs. But yeah, it can properly archive all of your tax information.
How does the NSA not have copies of these emails?
This is all BS. This is all bogus.
At the very least, they should be able to go to the to the NSA's log of the emails from the past 2 years, 3 years.
You are witnessing a pageant. This is a lie. This is a show. That's what they're up to right here. All right, more of your calls and emails coming up. Don't forget, use the hashtag new IRS rules if you have any suggestions of what's likely coming, because they're rolling out new rules, Skip. They said they're going to come up with new rules specifically dealing with the 501c4s and 3s.
So if you have any you want to tweet at us, like, for instance, R. Schaefer tweeted, audits will now be chosen based off of hashtags.
Okay.
So that's going to be trouble for a lot of us, I feel.
Have you ever used TCOT? That's going to be trouble for you. Tea Party, anything like that?
Yeah.
That might be bad.
So feel free to tweet those at us. It's at Skip Lacombe and at Doc Thompson Show. It's that hashtag new IRS rules.
That may get you an audit right there. This is The Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
The Blaze Radio Network.
All right, back to the Broad Voice studio line. Bob in Wisconsin. Hi there.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, if obviously some of the stuff did occur, it's a crime. Who would? It's federal agency, so who would investigate and prosecute a crime like that?
Here's the good news: the Department of Justice.
Oh, good. We don't have any political problems there.
You're right. That's the problem. The police are policing the police who are policing the police, and they're all corrupt. That's basically what's going on there.
That's good. That's comforting.
Now, they could point the special prosecutor, but, I mean, we've seen that doesn't always.
Prosecutor?
That would be the Attorney General. So that's
good. Doing better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not doing real well there. The interesting thing, though, Bob, you could see some political power exercised, or greater political power, if the Republicans end up taking over the Senate. You could see that. And then 2 years from now, if they take over the White House, then you could see some of that shift as well. That's a long time to wait, and it's either going to be even harder to prosecute people. And that's if they have the political will to do it. Because it's not just
none of this can be prosecuted at the state level where it occurred, but unfortunately it's a federal agency, and that falls under the Department of Justice.
You know what? I wonder if there are any laws statewide there could be almost like a wiretapping thing, or somebody recorded something like that, where it varies state to state. I wonder, Bob. That's a real good thing, though. Maybe there's a way to get them there, kind of a backdoor way. But thanks so much for the call, Bob. I really appreciate it. It really comes down to the elections. It's not just about punishing the people who've been involved. It's not just about that. Yes, they should be punished. Absolutely, they need to be punished. It's also getting our house in order, and it's keeping this stuff from happening in the future. And it's the ultimate way to get this done. The ultimate way is to elect good people, and it's not just Republicans. It's elect good conservative people of good moral character. I will even take some good liberal people of moral character, not progressive, some liberals, some people who have different ideas than I have, who are saying, I want the right things to happen, and who are willing to go after their own sacred cows as long as they're doing it for the right reasons, that are saying, I know that America and our structure and doing the right thing and the rule of law and government and the separation of powers and checks and balances is more important to freedom and even our security as liberals than protecting a president that we happen to like because he's the first black president, or protecting somebody else we like because they make our party look good and we want people elected in the future. Those are the people we have to find. We have to find them. And that's the reason the midterm elections and the primaries are so important. In fact, tomorrow, Mississippi. Coming up tomorrow, the runoff election between Thad Cochran and Chris McDaniel. It's all tomorrow. I have got an update on that as well as another race coming up. We'll talk about it next in the Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson on the Blaze Radio Network.
Direct from the historic newsreels of
Selznick Talking Pictures,
in cooperation with the International Broadcast Museum of East Sheboygan, this is a 30-second biography. Son of Joe and Rose, brother to Robert and John, Ted Kennedy from Massachusetts spent an impressive 47 years in Congress, many of them sober. Kennedy, the Lion of the Senate, was known for his charisma and oratorical skills. As a young man, Teddy was a brilliant student, star athlete, and as a world-class swimmer was estimated to be 31% more buoyant than the average Kopechne. Despite his alleged ability to drink his weight in scotch, Ted avoided tequila shots, and unlike his brothers, avoided shooters altogether. This has been a 30-second biography.
This is the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson on the Blaze Radio Network.
The government's always trying to find ways to save money now, aren't they?
I don't. Well, I mean, they canceled their contract with SodaSoft, so.
Well, I'm thinking I may have an idea for him.
Yeah?
Yeah, sequestration, budget cuts, and I'm sure they're always looking. The IRS branches out and offers a new service, paper shredding and document destruction. All our companies all need them now. They got to find a way to do it. They're really good at destroying documents at the IRS.
That's a good point.
Really, really solid. So, tomorrow, Mississippi, big runoff election between Thad Cochran and Chris McDaniel. This is going to be big. Chris McDaniel has been up a couple of points. I think it's his to lose. I think it's likely going to be Chris McDaniel, but you can't take it for granted, so make sure in Mississippi, get out and vote. Make sure. And you're going to send another good one. You're going to get rid of a rhino. You're going to upgrade there. It's going to be good. You need to Eric Cantor Thad Cochran is what you need to do. You need to cantor him. We can use cantor as a verb, right?
Can we please use cantor as a verb?
We need to cantor him.
Oh, I love that.
By the way, there are robocalls, I'm getting word, going around Mississippi that are aimed at voting for Thad Cochran and not voting for Chris McDaniel. This is the robocalls. They think that they're coming from some Democrat operatives who want Thad Cochran in, that they don't want Chris McDaniel. And it's one of those, yeah, they may not like Thad Cochran because he's not as progressive as some of the people they'd like, But they're clearly saying he's more of our guy because he's more progressive with this stuff. So if you've got robocalls coming from Democrat groups, progressive groups in favor of Thad Cochran, who do you think you should vote for there? Regardless of Democrats, even if it's not party, right? Just progressive groups. Some minority-based groups, some others that are just, we want free stuff groups, save the tufted titmouse, what about the children, wringing hands groups, these types. If they're saying we need Thad Cochran, that tells you don't need Thad Cochran. If they're supporting him, even if it's he's better than the other guy for their progressive ideas, that means he's bad for you. It's pretty simple, isn't it? I mean, you've got all of these nutty... Oh, and you know what a lot of it's based on? Free stuff. These groups are over and over again bringing up Thad has brought the bacon back to Mississippi. This is their thing. Well, after Katrina, who brought all that money back? Thad Cochran. He helped bring all that money in. Mississippi, I will ask you, how do you do when it comes to state rankings? No, I'm not trying to rub salt in a wound. Listen, you know better than the rest of us how Mississippi does. Mississippi has struggled year after year after year. I mean, this goes all the way back to Reconstruction after the Civil War and the reintegrating the South into the Union and rebuilding the South or whatever. I mean, people in the South understand how a raw deal was given to them because of, President Johnson after Andrew Johnson after the Civil War and how he screwed the entire thing up. And this divide and the Dixiecrats, you understand that. But in modern times, think for just a moment. How are you doing? Okay, not well. By comparison. So, what have you been doing that's not going well for you? The attitude that says bring the bacon back from D.C. That's what's screwing up. You're in the South. The South is booming now. By comparison to the North, factories have moved down south. It's warmer. It's nicer weather. You don't have to deal with some of this crap that the North has to. This is your time to shine, South. And look at what some states are doing. Florida, booming. Okay, they're tourists, a lot of beach line and, Disney and all. Okay, fine. What about South Carolina? What about Georgia? What about Alabama? Alabama, huge white-collar industry. Georgia, huge. I mean, it is boom. Texas, gargantuan success story. So Mississippi, how come you're not doing as well? It's because you have people like Thad Cochran playing into the notion of you just need to bring stuff back from D.C. Load up your pockets with pork from D.C. and shower it on the people of Mississippi. That's not how you get it done. How you get it done is to say, we are going to be a business-friendly state. We are going to do everything we can to make sure businesses are welcome here with low regulation and low taxes. There it is. There's the secret. There's the key. Thad Cochran is I want to treat you like cattle. I want to treat you like slaves. I want to treat you like you are beneath me. And I'll come in and slop you the hogs every once in a while. As long as you keep voting for me, I'll keep making sure your trough's filled with slop. You're getting the slop from D.C. That's what Thad Cochran and these other knuckleheads do. Oh, he brought back all this wonderful money from D.C. and it's helping us. No, you're getting the leftovers of the leftovers. Oh, sure, it's green and it spends, but you're getting the leftovers of the leftovers behind everybody else. You're eating last when he brings you the slop back. Instead of somebody like Chris McDaniel that I believe will say, we're going to change things. We're going to change the ideas and the values and the path that we've been on that props that up. So they're running these robocalls.
By the way, have you heard the audio of these?
Of the robocall?
Yeah.
No, I just heard some of this.
I have the audio. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up real quick.
No, I've just heard some of the details.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, dude. Let me pull it up real quick. Right. Here.
Okay, kids, everybody sing along.
Robocall they're putting in.
Oh, Thad Cochran had a farm. E-I-E-I-O.
That's not the
robocall
robocall
that's running all over Mississippi. No. Ew.
That's not the robocall. That's your little shot at Thad Cochran.
Dude, no.
That's you giving him the business because he said he's done all kinds
of indecent things with animals.
You know what I'm talking about.
Really got me there.
Do you still have that audio? I'm not putting you on the spot here. See if you can find it. I gotta. I've offered them. I've offered Thad Cochran, his camp, any spokesperson, anybody officially directly with the campaign, or directly tied with or can speak for the campaign to come on and explain the one statement. And until they do, I have to go with what the words mean. He's done indecent things with animals. To us, indecent things mean, you know what I'm talking about. It means indecent things. So that's what I'm going by. So if you would like to explain this away, Thad, any official spokesperson, I welcome it. Until then, we're going to take you at your word.
From animals, from that to all kinds of indecent things with animals. So I know some of you know what that is.
I know some of you knows what what that is.
Know what that means. Hey.
All right. I think this is a good time to take a break. Use that hashtag what I learned today. Get your final ones in. We'll share some of them, if deemed worthy by Rick, next on the close of this, The Morning Blaze.
The next generation of talk radio. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
On the Blaze Radio Network.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Oh, righty. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. The end of the Doc Thompson Show. But before we go, as always, let's find out what we learned today. We learned that Michigan's stench of death, shockingly, has nothing to do with Detroit.
Not in this case, at least.
Michigan's stench of death. We learned if he fires at you, you burn his truck. It's the Florida way.
It is the Florida way.
We learned if you rob a convenience store owned by a Special Forces vet, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's going to be bad.
We learned if you get stuck in a tree rescuing a cat that got stuck in a tree, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
We learned if you mistake a possum for a porcupine, you're doing it wrong. That'll be obvious pretty quickly.
Of course, this is, assuming that slapping a possum is okay when slapping a porcupine is frowned upon.
Slapping which, if you had your choice, you have to slap one of them.
Why don't I slap
If you have to, which one you slapping?
Slapping the possum.
There it is. We learned that soon you can look for the new IRS paper shredding service and document destruction services. We learned that the IRS was for backing up employees' emails before they were against it. We learned that Cal's Tiger Petting Zoo will no longer be offering pictures for New Yorkers. He's not going to offer that service anymore.
That's good.
And finally, we learned that if there's one person who would be able to be lured out of a bunker with a cheeseburger, that person is...
That's you.
Is
that
me.
Would be Doc
Is
Thompson.
Me. I'm going to go ahead and... Skip Lacombe, what, if anything, did you learn today?
I learned that gun stores have real guns.
Yeah, they do.
Which is good, yeah. So we learned that you should exercise short breath techniques when swimming in Doc's pool. We learned that on June 10th, 2011, Lois Lerner received her industrial strength magnet from Acme.
A degausser, as it were?
Yes, we learned that the key to repealing Obamacare lays with one Canadian man's short penis.
That's the linchpin.
And finally...
Sorry, I didn't mean to...
And finally... Finally, I learned that the IKEA meat breach has gotten much worse.
What, if anything, did Cal learn spinning the dials, radio style in New York City this morning?
Cal has learned Chinese juggling, bread toasting, and hair curling by the pool are okay, but under no circumstances will long breath-taking be tolerated.
That's right. Long breath-taking is frowned upon.
Also learning I'm now going to have to cut back on my tiger selfies, damn it. And finally, Cal learning never use Sonasoft as a backup.
What, if anything, did Rick learn answering the Broad Voice studio lines today?
Rick learned that community pools encourage ingesting public urine and or slowly drowning. And finally, Rick learning I'm opening a new studio for weird dudes to have their photo taken with tigers. in New Jersey.
You know, you may be able to branch out to Connecticut eventually, too, Rick.
That's
just so
a
you
good
know.
call, yeah.
You could do that, but not New York.
Nope.
Hey, the official coffee of the Morning Blaze, American Pride Roasters. Check out AmericanPrideRoasters.com. And, folks, I'm telling you, it's the best coffee in America. But also, you have to try the coffee drops. Little bits of heaven. Chocolate with, I don't know what he puts in the thing. Well, not completely, but I know he grinds up espresso beans, and they are exceptional. So check those out at AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Skip Lacombe, what, if anything, did the listeners learn today?
The other white Mike learned holding your breath too long will elevate the CO2 you exhale, violating the new EPA regulations.
That explains it. Now I know.
That's why the sign's there. Ed and Obama learning when stupidity is against the law, Congress will officially be lawless.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I would look to them first.
We had Tech Rue learning the attack on long breath holding is an attack on competition. Now we'll get participation trophies for breathing. That's a really good point, actually.
That's a really good... No, here's your blue ribbon. You breathed today.
We had Stinky learning slapping the possum is not a dirty euphemism.
No, it's not, but it's going to be painful for you.
It is now, probably. Muted Mind learning coming soon to a pool near you. Caution, may get wet signs. Pool, may get wet.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want to know reference to that, check out my tweets at Doc Thompson Show. You'll see the sign that was at my pool. At Doc Thompson Show, check out the picture.
DM and DM learners hardware hard drive was on Malaysian Flight 370. That explains it.
No, wait a minute. So CNN spends round the clock, right, talking about Flight 370, but they can't mention Lois Lerner's email at all. They're not looking for those at all, but they're missing. They're looking for a missing flight. Way to go, CNN.
There it is. We had Donna chiming in to ensure your email will never be available to incriminate you. CC the IRS.
It's gone. I don't know what happened to it.
The Steve 42 learning when targeted conservatives use Snapchat. Hashtag new IRS rules. It deletes itself right away. And finally, R. Schaefer learning a new IRS rule. Audits will now be chosen based on Twitter hashtags.
I love it. By the way, you can get those in as well. Just use hashtag new IRS rules. New IRS rules. We'll likely continue to share those throughout the day as well. Hashtag new IRS rules, because they're working on new rules for 501c4s and 501c3s, which is going to make everything absolutely fabulous. All right. Hey, by the way, if you get a chance, please check out our podcast. It's Doc Thompson On Demand. It's at theblaze.com/Doc Thompson, theblaze.com/Doc Thompson. Sorry I didn't get those new numbers on procrastination, but it's coming up tomorrow. I'm going to have some time tomorrow. 6:06 right off the bat.
Okay.
I'm doing the procrastination number.
All right.
Tomorrow, 6:06.
I like it.
What do we have coming else? What else?
We're also going to talk with Alan Way, actually running for Senate. Actually, is the GOP nominee for Senate in New Mexico.
Oh, sounds
8
good.
a.m.
What does Glenn Beck have coming up on his big, exciting radio show today?
Chris McDaniel coming up, actually.
Oh, cool. What is Glenn wearing today?
A carbonite baseball cap.
How appropriate.
Appropriate today.
Very
I think
appropriate
so, yeah.
today. I remember the Doc Thompson Show is a Skip Lacombe and Rick production. Sic Semper Tyrannis. Good night, Steve Cannon. Wherever you are. Anya, now, you go home.
It's a carbonite shirt, too, he's got on.
It works. If only. If only the IRS.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Part of Generation Blaze. On the Blaze Radio Network.